Hello and welcome back to Mama's Little Homestead, where we are turning our typical suburban backyard into an organic oasis. Today we're going to do a little bit of a tour of the homestead, aspiring I guess, and to show you what things are looking like in the backyard garden in August. It's probably my most heartbreaking season of gardening ever, even though I have had more space than ever, more experience than ever. It's just been kind of painful, a lot of issues coming up, so let's get to it. First of all, right outside of our sliding door is our herb garden, and I just started this year and it's doing okay. I honestly thought things were going to grow a little bit faster. We have herbs all throughout the property, but I love having them right next to the kitchen to just grab what I need when I'm cooking. We've got some parsley, marjoram, oregano, thyme, a couple lavenders, which I probably will take out because I don't think they're going to do that great in this area. And I have another area I've opened up to where I want to put a lot of lavender. But some basil and tarragon and rosemary. I had these plants growing in California and in raised beds, and we had some fantastic soil that we filled those with, and they went crazy. You know, the parsley took over, the rosemary same thing, and even the thyme and everything. They just haven't spread, and so I don't know if I just haven't been watering enough or if it is the material, but it is what it is. I've gotten to cook plenty with these herbs, so I don't know why I'm complaining. I think that they'll get larger as their root systems get more established and as their gardener tends them a little bit more faithfully. Just off of our little cement porch area where we had the herb garden, we have the tea garden, and it's looking very sad this year. I don't know what happened, but things just did not germinate the way I expected them to. Last year at this time we had, over here you'll see in a second, we had a wall of zinnias taller than me, and it was just incredible. It was so special. I was so looking forward to that this year. And this year we have one volunteer squash or pumpkin, not sure what that is. Last year my son just kind of got into my seeds, so childproof your seed storage, note to self for future. He mixed up all of my squash seeds. So what I did is I actually fenced off a portion of the chicken run and just put them in the ground, and they went nuts. They went crazy. So it's on the north side of the house, so they got full of powdery mildew, but I didn't really care because I wasn't using that. It was just an experiment, but they grew crazy. I think because of the fertilizer that was the chickens kind of prepared that area for them. So funny. But when we did end up getting a bunch of pumpkins and stuff, but I guess one kind of, it did grow through all the way through the fence, and so now it's coming back for more, which wraps up the exciting part of this area. So I have some chamomile. I have barely gotten any out of that. Next year I'll leave that there, but I'll do some more along the edges just to make it a little bit easier to harvest. I don't want to step in the flower garden to be harvesting those. And I've had some luck with the calendula this year, but again, same thing like last year. This was filled with zinnias and it was so beautiful. Alas, it was not to be this year. The calendula is growing up more in that area where the cosmos are. I knew that I should have planted my mint, my peppermint, in a pot in the ground because it went crazy and took over this space in California, and I was just lazy and I didn't do it here. And so now we have this invasive mint. Maybe I'll do mint in the chicken area. I still have time to do it this year. I'll probably just do that next year and kind of fence it off and see if it'll take over. But the peppermint, I've had some great fresh mint tea off of it. It's so delicious. But overall, it's been pretty disappointing. This area was full last year, and I just can't explain why these zinnias are so small at this part of the season. I mean, it is August 1st today. We should be enjoying the height of summer, and instead I feel like we're at the end of June. Everything looks like we're at the end of June. One of the saving graces of the season is our raspberry hedge, and I love this. It's not enough fruit for us to can it or to make jam, and honestly we don't really eat jam. If we have berries, we have either fresh berries, which we eat a lot of, or we have frozen berries. So I could collect them and freeze them, and maybe I will do that in the future. The best part about this for me is just the kids go nuts over it, especially my oldest son. If you can't find him, you know that he is over here in the berry patch. And last year that was fun because the zinnias were a wall, like I said, in front of this, so you actually couldn't see him when he was out here, and he'd just be out here stuffing his face with berries. And the way I planted these, several different varietals. Actually, the one on the end is a blackberry, and then we have a bunch of raspberries, and we have some yellow raspberries and a different variety, so you can kind of see the difference. This one grows straight up, the canes are really strong, and then this one just totally droops over. And we have the same support, just T-posts and some, I think it's like 12 or 16 gauge wire to hold them up. And next year we're gonna get some taller T-posts because obviously we need it for these berries. And these ones are still fruiting right now. These ones they might do another round for us, but I planted them intentionally so that we would get fruit throughout the season, so we're never having so much fruit that I have to preserve it. We don't get enough because the kids we have about 4 kids, they're stuffing their faces. The edge of our pool, which is totally an eyesore, but fantastic for teaching kids how to learn how to swim, especially our ages of the kids. I think it cost basically 1 month of our YMCA membership, and I was gonna take the kids to the Y maybe once a week. They love it. It's so great. They're outside, they're not in the house. Even when it's 100, and I think our high this year was 108, they're in the pool splashing around. You can't beat it. Sometimes your backyard, your garden is about beauty, and sometimes it's about function, and it's great when it can be both, but we just can't beat it. I didn't want to forget to talk about the chickens. They're great. We have 2 coops here. One, we're still not finished painting that one. We started with this smaller one, and then this one we added when we added to our flock, and the chickens were just not getting along. And it was the middle of winter, and the big chickens wouldn't let the little chickens in at night, or the little chickens just wouldn't come in. We would put them in and they would just come out, and they were huddling on top. It was very sad. So we got the bigger one thinking this will be great, we will integrate our flocks. We just ended up keeping both, and so they have 2 homes to choose from, and at this point we have 3 different flocks. They coexist now anyway. Our chicks from this year just started laying maybe like a month or 2 ago, probably 2 months ago. We got them kind of early in the season because we knew we wanted to have more. We live on a canal, and it's filled with poison hemlock, and some of it actually ended up growing through our fence, and the chickens, we couldn't figure out why they were dying until we found the hemlock, and we realized, oh, they're poisoning themselves. So we had a few die from hemlock poisoning, and then one died because our golden doodle got a little up close and personal. She loves to get in there with the chickens. So does my 2-year-old. So we have established boundaries. So hopefully we can keep the rest of our flock. So because we added, this is our 3rd year, and we just had chickens every year, we add them, we subtract them when they die. I actually don't know how many we have. The legal limit in our city is 10. So it's definitely under 10, definitely. So now we're over here at the raised beds. These are definitely the pride and joy of this year. And I was really ambitious, and I thought I would just take the back gardens for the things that I wanted really high production and give the kids each their own garden box this year. And so each one of them has one. The 2-year-old is the one at the end, and so that's actually really my garden box this year because she couldn't tell me what varietals she wanted to plant, so I planted that out for her with whatever else I thought I wanted in this space. A lot of tomatoes for fresh picking and things like that. Ooh, Robin just got a worm. That's beautiful. I'm so glad we have worms in our soil. It's been an uphill battle. This whole area used to be farmland. We're in southern Idaho, and it's just like every day there's another field that's being turned into a subdivision. And I mean, I can't really complain because we are the beneficiaries of that. We live on that former farmland turned suburban cookie cutter type development. We love it. We're so grateful to be here. I wish there were more farms. Anyway, so each of the kids has her or his own garden bed with things that they put in, and then I just put some fall seeds in because I thought I was gonna have 12 beds in the back to do whatever I wanted with, and that's part of the heartbreak story of this video. We'll get to that, but we have one that is just purely a strawberry patch, and same with the raspberries. You know, it's just, there's different kinds, so we have strawberries all throughout the summer. There's not one big explosion, but it's nowhere near enough to preserve any for our family. And again, I would just be freezing them, and they taste so much better fresh. Why not just enjoy the seasonal aspect of it, the seasonal abundance? That's something that's very special to us about summer, is that we get to eat our berries, which we don't have all year round. And I think that actually makes it more special, a better memory, more powerful for our kids. So I'm good with not having a year's worth of strawberries, although that would be nice and I wouldn't turn it down if someday we get there. So this area behind me is our backyard orchard. We planted all but one of these trees from bare root about 3 years ago. My husband wishes that we had just spent the money and gotten fruiting trees right away, because it's been a long wait for fruit. It's a trade-off, you know. You're either gonna spend the money or you're gonna wait, you're gonna spend time. And we don't have the biggest budget in the world. We try to be pretty selective with where we're spending our money. So bare root, which is a great option if you have the time and not the money. So we've got 2 cherry varietals. This is the Bing cherry, which we got about 20 cherries off of this year, which is so exciting because it's the first year we've gotten fruit off of any of the trees. The one next to it is a Bing, and we got them because they flower at the same time and they need to cross-pollinate. The Bing didn't fruit for whatever reason. On the end is a pear. It comes into fruit will come into fruit closer to the winter. The dog got the branches. Basically, there was just a stick in the spring. It was tragedy. However, it seems to be doing just fine, so we don't have to kill the dog. I'm just kidding. We're not gonna kill the dog. This one is a peach tree. We did not plant that one from bare root. We had 2 peach trees, bare root peach trees. So all of the bare roots we got from our local organic nursery, except for our peach trees, because they were half price. I think they were like $16 at Costco. So we got the Costco ones. The Costco ones never did anything. They were just twigs. So we pulled out the dead Costco and learned our lesson, and we will pay a little bit more for actual living trees instead of sticks from Costco. So this one, it has to establish its roots. So it's a year less in our garden, and it's about the same growth as the other trees. So it didn't really save that much time. And then we had, in place of the other, peach tree. The other peach tree that died, we had a fruit salad tree, which I thought would be really fun. Branches were all grafted on, but same thing. And that one was from the organic nursery, and it was in a pot, and it still just did not ever put off buds, leaves, nothing. It was just dead. Don't get your trees in the spring before they start greening up, I guess, is the lesson there. So what do I want to put there? It'll either be a peach or a pluot. I'd love to have lots and lots and lots of peaches. This one does not need a buddy to cross-pollinate with, but I just love to have a lot of peaches. I think it would be great. That's the thing I would like to preserve the most, cook the most with. We'd have cobblers and things like that. So I'd love to have peaches. I guess I just talked myself into waiting for a peach. I couldn't find a peach tree this year. I had my eye on a pretty decently priced pluot tree at the organic nursery, and so we might look at that, but I couldn't find, I didn't come across, I've been to the nursery probably 6 times this season and not seen a peach tree. So Now it's probably too late. Next year. So this right behind me is our super sad, super depressing Espalier apple tree. It's kind of like that fruit salad tree. Each level has different variety grafted onto it. It's totally dying. What happened was, this is a different part of our yard. So the part that we were just standing in that has the little mini orchard, that part has had grass on it since the beginning of this development, which is not that old, but this part was behind the original fence, and our property goes all the way to the canal. It goes further than this fence, which you'll see in a second. It goes all the way to the water. There's a little easement for a road so they can maintenance the canal. But anyway, we wanted to have as much space fenced in our backyard as we could. And, you know, for my husband, it was to give the kids room to play. For me, it was so I could plant more things. But regardless, we moved it back. But our soil that had nothing on it but weeds is so compacted and lifeless. It has been a terribly tragic uphill battle. And so what happened was we dug the hole for this tree. It was a deep pot that it was in. So we dug it the right size, we did everything right, but the soil around it is so compacted that we had to put down weed tarp down here. This was 3 years ago, before I realized how awful the microplastics are for the soil, and just how bad it was for the soil, just killing the potential in our planting area here. So I ripped it up. It had wood chips on top of it. We kept the wood chips. Those will break down and actually help to heal the soil. But as I was pulling up the weed tarp this summer, I'll put a picture somewhere, the roots could not go through the soil. The soil is that compacted. So they just traveled along the surface of the dirt that is here. It's not worthy of being called soil. They just traveled along so they're just trapped between the weed tarp. And so I thought, this is definitely going to die. There's no way this thing is going to make it. But if you look along with me here, like right down there at the bottom, and right here, and right here, and right here, and right here, it's actually budding up again. I think taking off all of that growth. I don't know if this is gonna survive. We were just gonna rip it out. Now I think I might. I'll probably prune off all the dead stuff and see if we can start fresh. It might just not make it, but who knows? We'll see how it does. So this is my in-ground space here behind the fence. You might be able to hear the ripple of water over in the canal that's right next to us over here. So you can hear the water, or I can hear the water, maybe you can't hear the water. And then we have 12 beds in ground, and this was basically all weeds. You see our neighbor, they scooped out a bunch of their weeds and dirt last winter, I want to say. So I mean, this is mild. It was so thick with weed brush and just that compacted soil underneath the weeds. What I did was basically a war against the weeds, and my husband thought I was crazy. I mean, he still thinks I'm crazy because he knows me well enough to know that I am crazy. He was like, yeah, okay, sure, you're gonna do what with that space? Fine. He knows enough to be like, do what you want. I think he's impressed with how well it's turned out. I've done the raised bed thing for 5 years now, and I really wanted to try an in-ground space. And to me, looking back and just seeing all of this land being unused, I thought, like, I could try something new. So I wanted to try a no dig. So I basically did the thing. In the spring, I laid down cardboard and mulch and or compost on top of it and just planted directly into that. The year before, though, I forgot, the first year I did that just right along the fence where you see all those flowers, and that soil there is doing pretty well. So I'm kind of encouraged by the way that part has gone. I was also going through, I could talk about this a lot, maybe in a different video, but I was really suffering. I have an autoimmune disorder that causes all kinds of physical and emotional mental health symptoms if it's not properly medicated, if it's over medicated, and the dosage goes up and down throughout pregnancy. And I have been pregnant or breastfeeding for the last 9 years. So it's been a journey. Last year was probably the peak, and I'm a lot better now. That process of getting this set up was kind of my response and my outlet, and it saved me during a really dark period of time. I would just come out here and shovel and wheelbarrow for however long the baby was napping, listening to Morgan Wallen songs. That was my saving grace during that time. So got 12, we added the irrigation this year, and I had such high hopes for what was gonna happen this year in this space, and nothing germinated. Actually, that's not true. We had one of the beds. I planted all the beds. I think it's a squash. It's probably not a pumpkin. Could be a pumpkin. Only one out of all these 12 beds. You can obviously see that there's stuff in here now. I was so discouraged, and again, I was really, really suffering last fall, and so my kids, I homeschool the 4 kids. Well, not all of them are school age, but I homeschool the school age ones, and that kind of fell by the wayside. And it's fine because they are both performing above grade level, so the fact that school it was the bare minimum for a little while I was just trying to get well, it's okay. When it came spring and I was feeling better, my first priority was to get them back on track and to care for their education. And so I just didn't have the energy or mental space. Even though I finally got my energy back, I wanted to give that fully 100% to the kids and to their schooling. That was number one thing I wanted to do, being well again. So I did that, and that meant that the garden didn't get the kind of attention that it needs. If you want to grow your own food for a year, not that we have enough space for that yet, but it had to fall by the wayside for a little bit. And so this whole space got totally weedy, totally overgrown, and I could tell my husband was just thinking like, yep, that's what I expected. But I was actually surprised once I decided, I think it was our hottest week this summer, but I said, you know what, it's whatever, end of June, beginning of July, I am going to take back this space, and I'm not going to let all of that hard work, all those blood, sweat, and tears go to waste. And so what I did is I weeded everything. I had a lot of volunteer flowers in the middle of the paths in the garden bed. I just thought, I want a neat, clean space. I want things to be well defined and manageable, workable. So I cleared out the paths, remulched them. We had a chip drop last fall and just still had enough left over to remulch all of the pathways. So I did that, and they look a little worse for wear because I hoed them all this morning. It's been about a month since I reclaimed this space, and so it needed just a little bit of maintenance and TLC, but so much easier. I spent a full week of probably 4, 5, 6 hours every morning. I'd wake up at the crack of dawn and get back to it so I could reclaim this space. And I'm glad I did, because I decided to cover crop. We might end up just doing raised beds in this space. I am on the fence. I can't make up my mind. Again, it's that same trade-off. Do you want to put a lot of money into it, or do you want to put time? I think I might, just because I have become a little bit nutty about soil health, I think I might just let it do its thing. I cover cropped with buckwheat because it grows really, really fast, and I'm hoping it will shade out all the weeds. And then when I chop that down, when it comes to its flowering stage, I think I'm just gonna go directly to a fall cover crop, a mix of, there's a local organic nursery that I mentioned. They have this really great Idaho soil builder mix, and I can't decide if I want to do all of those things or if I just want to do something that will winter kill. Maybe I will just love on myself and just do the winter kill things because I want to make the most out of this cover crop time. I don't know, undecided. Let me know what you think. So anyway, this whole space we are reclaiming, and I'm really excited about it. It was heartbreak to just bite the bullet, and there's a few, or maybe I'll go show you those things right now. There's a few plants that are still in the cover crop to see what we can get. So since nothing germinated in this space, I had, right before I decided to do the cover cropping, I still had my leftover seeds. So I put those in paper towels, got them wet, and I germinated them on our windowsill. And I put those in the ground, and I am the worst about labeling. I am the worst about remembering. I could plant things, seeds, and then go inside to write down where I planted them, and I have forgotten. And so my attitude has pretty much been like, well, we'll see what it is when it comes out. So I think next year I'll do a better plan of actually mapping the garden and labeling, and I will keep my notebook with me so that as I change my plan on the fly, which I always do when I'm actually in the space planting, that I will actually be able to remember what I planted. So there is something growing in this bed. I think they're squashes. I mean, I know these are squashes. And then this bed up here and here, we have volunteer watermelon from last year. Again, at this time last year, these beds were covered with these vines. So kind of like this squash vine that's down there. This was all cantaloupe and watermelon. We were already eating and enjoying melons, and these are not even flowering yet. So I think that we got gypped on the compost this year that I put down. I don't really know what happened, but I know that this space regardless needs attention because there's little to no fertility in the soil because it's so compacted and probably was full of chemicals for all those years that they were farming on it. I'm just guessing, I don't know, but it's a good bed. So this bed you can see has mostly the buckwheat, but a couple of things that I popped in there after I germinated them inside, and they're just not really growing all that quickly. Maybe we'll end up getting something off of those. Maybe they'll just be good biomass once I cut them down and leave them in the soil. Something just sprouted up. Oh look, got some dill volunteering. I love fresh dill. That's one of the things that just does not keep its flavor at all when you preserve it. I have some basil salts actually that did really well because basil is another one of those. So maybe I'll see if dill salt is worthwhile this year. That's strawberry. It was actually in a garden center kale that I planted last year, and the kale has since flowered. I let it go to seed because I wasn't paying attention to the garden, but I just loved having the kale. It was the only thing flowering at the time that it flowered in the spring, and this was, again, watermelon that's not doing much. They're just everything is just slow. And these cosmos are volunteer. Those are all volunteer. So are all the marigolds, actually. I left these marigold plants in for the pollinators to just overwinter in. Not these marigolds, obviously these are new, but I did that over the winter. And I'm really happy with how it turned out because I just took the dead ones out and shook out the seeds, and now we have marigolds. So basically from very, very little input, we will have marigolds forever. And then these purpley ones are borage. I don't know how you say it, but they are amazing little herbs. So I put them on top of like vanilla cupcakes because they're edible. You can put them in flowers. They just basically taste like a cucumber. And once you put these in, again, you need one seed packet is all you need. You can eat that. The bees just love this one. Oh, thank you for making an appearance, Mr. Bee. Those borage flowers, they taste like a cucumber. It's wild. My daughter just loves making guests eat those flowers. She's like, these are edible, you should eat them. And then cosmos are another one. You know, they're good for the bees, but once you plant them, you won't have to plant them again because they will appear all over your garden. And I love that they went to seed and now this is their home. Beautiful. This makeshift pumpkin patch, I really seriously doubt that we are going to be able to get pumpkins from this space this year, but I had to try. So I threw down a ton of pumpkin and sunflower seeds. I did germinate the pumpkin seeds in my grow space, in the garage actually, just to make sure that what I was actually putting in the ground was viable. I threw down some straw. This is a lasagna garden, so that was another perk for me, is being able to use this space. So basically I'm just trying to use every available space that we have to grow things in, and the more I do it, the more space I see. So keep that in mind. You might not see it yet, but once you start, it becomes an addiction and you will see space to grow everywhere. So that's very fun. And we also have this compost bin, which I'm liking so far. I had one of those tumblers and I hated that. And this one is pretty easy. I've just turned it a couple times. I think we need more nitrogen in it. We have a lot of the carbon materials. If anybody has tips on composting, let me know. I give all of our nitrogen stuff to the chickens and I let them compost it. Baby is paging me. Anyway, so I did take some of that chicken compost from their area. So it's got their poop, it's got the dirt from over there, and it has just all the scraps from the garden they ate, destroyed, composted for us. So that is actually what's in this. There is the organic raised bed soil from bags that I bought on half, and then there's half chicken stuff. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm gonna go answer my page. So everything here is just so behind, and I cannot figure out why that is. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I have Googled extensively. The only thing I can think of is that the compost we got is just some bad stuff, because it is pretty pathetic. So if this were like an end of June garden tour, then I would be thrilled, but it's not. This is August 1st. So let's take a look. See, these are bell peppers that are really like just budding up. So very, very slow. The marigolds are all volunteer. We've got chives, which are looking great. No complaints about the chives. My Amish paste tomatoes have done nothing, like literally zero. Oh, okay, I lied. There's a couple of flowers, but other than that, nothing. I grew San Marzanos last year and they were really fantastic, so I'm gonna go back to those. I did plant this baby bok choy, and this is doing great. This has been in the ground for a couple of days. So the bok choy is doing great. It is a brassica, so usually a fall, but that varietal says it loves the heat. So you could plant this bok choy all summer. If I'd have known that, I would have been doing it. Got a carrot still in the ground. These are all, this might be one of my Amish paste or cutting tomatoes that have done literally zero, nothing. These are cherry tomatoes, and we've been getting some off of there. They kind of go dormant in the heat a little bit. They just pause. So I think that might be what's going on with those. This is our strawberry patch, and it is our 3rd year on the strawberries, and I don't do hardly anything with these. They give us a lot of strawberries all throughout the summer, different varietals. Some of them are really tiny, but they are the best tasting strawberries ever. But it is kind of getting overgrown. I cut off, there were runners all the way around. I finally just said enough is enough, and we have to be able to walk in here. I don't even straw over the winter because the raised bed gives the soil like a few degrees extra. Sorry, duty called. I had to attend to a toddler related mango emergency. I think I was saying I don't do anything with these in the winter much. The leaves die off, and I maybe shake off some of the leaves and kind of let that be a bedding. You're supposed to put straw over them, but the raised bed raises the temperature of the soil a little bit. They've done fine. Like, they come back. I will prune them off in the fall and just leave everything in place. It's just been really easy for us. So that's our strawberry patch. This is my 3-year-old's garden. Oh, he's 4 now. This is my 4-year-old garden, and I am so proud of him. He's got these 2 cherry tomatoes that are going crazy. We have the boards down, in case you're wondering, for carrot germination. So it's a trick. You have to keep them moist. So we plant the seeds, and you just kind of sprinkle them in rows like you normally would. And you could either put burlap, or we put the boards down, and that just helps keep things moist because they have to stay moist to germinate. And we are so hot here. If we want to have fall carrots, we have to take extreme measures. Actually, it was pretty easy. We had the scrap wood already laying around in the yard, so it wasn't that bad. It looks like he's got a potato. What is that, a zucchini? I mean, he's got cucumbers over there. We just used the extra tomato cage as a trellis for that cucumber. The leaves are really big, but I don't see any fruit on it. He's got the first baby cucumber right there. And my nails are so dirty and disgusting. During garden season, they're just basically always full of dirt. And a little baby zucchini coming through. So the 4-year-old for the garden win so far, I think. Just one note about the pathways. I am working on living pathways here. So basically we have this wood mulch down. It's not very pleasant to walk on, and I want to garden barefoot. So these are micro clovers, and they are very drought tolerant. They will keep our soil healthy. They will fix nitrogen into the soil, and they'll be so nice to walk on in the mornings when I want to garden barefoot. So those are just getting established right now. I'm actually pretty pleased. Oh, look, there's a volunteer pea plant. But I'm pretty pleased with how these are coming along, considering I just threw down the seed and it's 100 degrees outside and watered a little bit, and 3. So there you have it. That's everything that we have been able to get established and growing this summer in year 3 of our backyard homestead. I am very much looking forward to establishing even more growing space in the fall, getting it ready so that come spring next year we can have an even more fantastic garden. I can't wait to cover crop the back and see how that turns out. I may end up just putting raised beds in there, honestly. We'll see. Thanks for joining me.